Compression, guys, great video here for you. We're really going to be looking at a video that's going to help so many of you understand how to press the ball out better, get some more shaft lean, and just get better contact. And this is really for all levels of players here. Later on in the video, we're going to be taking you through some great information as we show some of the different patterns of swings and where we need to be in and around impact. Now you're going to find your position here, you're going to find what group of swings that you belong to get this shaft lean, to get the angle of attack that we are after. And we're going to be looking here at essentially the move of the legs, the feet, the lead hip, and how much movement, how much lateral movement that you need, and even looking at perhaps the weight on that lead foot and where you really need to be to press a golf ball out. Now, I've just taken the liberty to pop something here in the ground. It's one of those foam roller things, or whatever, tubing, whatever you call it. And through this, we're going to be having a look at the amount of lateral movement. Now, when we look at the averages of movement, there has to be an average. Right? It's important to look at. Okay, people are talking about there's different styles of swings. Yes, there are, but there is an average, and millions of people, if they get closer to this position, they will hit it better. All right, you won't hit it worse, you'll hit it better. So when we look at tour averages and we look at the movement of lateral movement and the shaft lean, the closer we get, the better we hit. The further away, the worse you'll hit. Only when there are certain exceptions, but the general public aren't really in these positions. Right, now when we look at here getting a line up the lead leg, I think my noodle's a bit crooked here. When we get the line up the left leg from the outside of the thigh here, what we're looking at doing is when we're hitting a ball, the average of movement here, we're looking around 10 to 15 centimeters of lateral movement. You're going to be getting about half of your left leg, you're looking at a mid-iron here, half of your left leg through the wall and a portion of your shoulder. All right, and you're going to be getting that shaft lean, hopefully over 10 degrees of shaft lean, as this helps the angle of attack. There's a lot of information out there, really, and by some quite big names and instruction telling people at the top just to turn and sit back on this side. But this is really, for a lot of people, causing issues. Now this your right knee really needs to get quite close to covering the ball. And we're going to look at this angle here where club golfers are, where you need to be. This is going to help you cover the golf ball. Now the less lag that you have, the more lateral you need. I'll say it again. The less lag that you have, the more lateral that you need. And if you're a player that doesn't have big angles, if you're flipping it, you really want to look at getting 3/4 of your left leg through this wall, and you will get compression, okay? You will hit the ball better. Now there's a whole bunch of exercises. I find this one of the most important areas of the swing, especially when you've filmed around 40-something thousand swings looking at club golfers. They don't really get in there and understand where they need to be to get this compression on the shot. So on World Class Golf Instruction, we've got a series there, really detailed series of lateral movement and where to get our body into. The other thing that it does, of course, is when we get laterally, we start to get this right hip to move a little bit down rather than getting this hip up, causing flips, pulls. But the block shot is not spoken about enough. With the right hip coming up, blocking it out to the right, not having any room there, really is a big problem. When we get to the top of the swing, really looking at when we load it all up and get it nicely, the first move, we're really looking at getting some lateral shift, a little bit of movement downwards into this left side. Now once we get across, we've rescended, then we can turn, then we can open up. There's a few different ways of how to go about it. We see some people really bending everything like McIlroy and straightening it back up. We see people like Greg Norman, Lee Westwood, sort of sliding across with the hips not very much open, or someone like an Adam Scott where they're sliding and turning. But you have to get across onto your left leg to be able to press out some shots. The way to get in there and practice it is getting your backswing in a good position and just leading forwards, closing up this gap a little bit with this right arm so that you're getting yourself in a position where it's closed up and we're getting some lateral movement. You can film your swings, and you should be, and this is what we show. What great players aren't filming their swings? I mean, you should be filming your swings. It's hard to keep playing well for longer than a couple of weeks. Checking your address position, checking your lines, checking your angles, the V1 Golf app, worldclassgolf.com. This is a community where we're really showing people how to get in there and film their swings. Now we're coming up, we're going to be looking at some of the amounts of lateral movement depending on the start of swing that you have. You'll find this absolutely fascinating. And by getting in there and applying lots of solid practice swings, getting your feedback, perhaps working in mirrors, filming your swing, and you'll get some much better compression on your shots. Let's now have a look at some of this evidence-based material and exactly what's happening there with lateral movement. So everyone, right, this is going to be an eye-opener for many of you out there as we really look at how to compress a golf ball properly. Now, we've got around 4 to 6 inches of lateral movement. The lateral movement through the golf ball will affect your shaft lean. Your shaft lean will affect your compression and your lag angles. Now, for a lot of you out there that don't have big lag angles coming down, the less lag you have, the more lateral movement you need. The less lag you have, the more lateral movement you need. Now, let's have a look at this position here. I'm going to draw this down. Have a look at it. We've got a right angle. What a golf swing. We see this is around the 2 average here. We've got about half of the lead leg through the wall and a little bit of the lead shoulder. Right, now when we get less angle here, the less angle that we have coming down, the more lateral movement that we need. The earlier that we're going to touch the ground and hit it flat. When we see Oosthuizen, right, on the other side, have a look at that. He doesn't have as much lag, but have a look carefully at his lead leg. We see that he's got 3/4 of his lead leg through the wall coming down. Now this will affect your shaft lean. The more lateral movement that you have, the more you move forwards, the better your angle of attack's going to be, and the better you're going to compress the golf ball. Okay, so it makes sense to understand your swing patterns. All right, now when we get into impact, we're looking at around 12 degrees of shaft lean. Let's have a look on this side. This is just after impact, unfortunately, but we're going to have about 11 degrees here of the shaft lean. I'll just click on the right thing, and we'll get a bit of a gauge here of where we are. We've got around 11 degrees there, 12 degrees shaft lean. This is what we're after, 90 being 0. Now on worldclassgolf.com, we're looking at swing geometry. Have a look at the right leg there, under 70 degrees. You're going to see that about every time. Now there's quite a few players in world golf that don't have huge angles, lag angles, and it's a lot like the club golfer, which I'm going to show you coming up. Just bear with me. All right, and we'll see Jimenez here. What a wonderful ball striker this guy is, but not a huge lag angle coming down. You can see that. 20 degrees. I like to look at angles, and so I don't like to see it further out than 30 degrees. And this V1 Home Studio, this is an amazing equipment. See that lead leg, 3/4. And look at Jimenez's impact position. Look at the shaft lean coming down here. It's a lot, isn't it? 15 degrees of shaft lean. This Home Studio, drawing the lines and angles, the closer you get to these positions, the better you hit. This is available on worldclassgolf.com for around $99. It's normally around $500 for the year.
World Class Golf Instruction has over 700 detailed videos for every golfer. Practice programs and evidence-based material is applied to helping you to become your own coach and play your best golf. Join us in the chat room and join the community of World Class Golf Instruction.
Now, when we look at club players, obviously we're seeing different patterns out there. You know, the skill level is a little bit different, but we're seeing often absolutely no shaft lean, and unfortunately what we're seeing is almost no lateral movement in this right leg in different positions. I did have quite a good player come the other day, and we've got him down, it's about a month ago now, we've got him down from a handicap of 5 down to 2, and we'll just have a look at this because it's an interesting one. We've got him down pitching it so much better as well, and there's an advanced pitching series there on World Class Golf. When we look at the spin, loft, angle of attack, look at the TrackMan numbers. This was very interesting, and work with some facts. Now have a look at this. This is really just within a few golf balls. I changed the setup. So on this side, we were hitting it. He was hitting it a bit fat and hitting it high and flipping it. And we can see here, but it's still a decent looking swing. A little bit of shaft lean, but not much. So we see around 4 degrees there. But we can see sort of the right legs up a little higher, 75. And we got some air in here. All right. So we changed the setup a little bit. And then what we did is we moved laterally forwards, and we can start to see we're getting a much better position covering the golf ball. And with a high-speed camera, you can do this with your mobile phones, right? This is exactly what you're seeing on your iPhones when you put on slow motion. 11 degrees of shaft lean. We see the right leg now. So we're getting into the 2 averages here. So the closer you get, the better you hit. Now these positions are really, really important to understand. And for the better players out there, your swing can change within a couple of weeks. You lose your setup. That's why it's hard to play well longer than a couple of weeks. But really interesting stuff. Footwork, Nicholas, you know, what a player. I mean, have a look at this right leg here moving. Look at the lateral movement. Why don't we look at this swing a little bit more? It's really remarkable. Look at that lateral shift, and probably the best footwork I've ever seen in my life that right leg. Look at that leg. Look at that down to 64 degrees here. What footwork that is. Absolutely unbelievable, guys. World Class Golf. Yes, worldclassgolf.com. If you're after online lessons, check out craighansongolf.com. And guys, yeah, we're getting in there and really showing you the averages of movement. As I said, the closer you get to these positions, the better you hit. I hope it sort of opens your eyes up to what you really need to do to hit a golf ball, perhaps rather than jumping from video to video. Get in there and work on the good stuff. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.